The first outing of the year was a timed hour-long event, with racing starting at dusk and continuing into the night.
5 different cars in the top 5 positions on the grid. Clark Quinn on pole. The Mosler gets going from the rolling start. And a new season of GT racing is away. 60 minutes with a compulsory pit stop. Down to the first chicane. You've got to be so careful here. It's a long race.
Well, it is, mate. It's an hour long. You don't want to be doing too much silly stuff here on the first part of this lap. Tony Quinn
making a lunge on Kevin Weeks, makes a mistake and tags the wall on the way through to turn 4.
You can just see him there, very bumpy going into turn 4 there. The car skipped sideways, he couldn't recover it in time, straight into the inside wall, and there's heavy damage on that right front tyre.
He rejoins among the class cars. Let's have a look again. Plenty of bumps here on the inside, and that one catches him out.
Absolutely, and you can actually see in the foreground there, as this was happening, Clark Quinn, massive right front lock-up going into turn 4 there too, so let's hope he doesn't damage that tyre.
Love hearing the mixture of machines in GT racing. But out in front, Clark Quinn leads the way in the Mosler. Greg Crick second, who's back for another year in the Viper, the former champion, and Mark Eddy, the Audi R8, closing right in.
Mark's looking racy here. It looks like he wants to really have a good go at Greg Crick and get past him.
Here he comes, turn 14, it is on. Crick, oh, there's a bit of contact there too.
Absolutely, you can just see the damage on the left-hand rear of Mark Eddy's car. A bit of smoke coming out there, and the damage on the right front of Greg Crick's car. So certainly not something that you needed starting a 1 hour long race.
Kevin Weeks sits in 4th place in the Superlock Lamborghini. Then Dean Grant, who's driving the Porsche after his Mosler was badly damaged at Bathurst. Here's the replay, and it's just a little bit of overlap.
Absolutely, you can see the bumper there.
Oh, that's the Ferrari. Yeah, that's the Simonson car of Nick O'Halloran, who started the race, and Tony Quinn's managed to get the Aston Martin back to pit lane.
I'd be very surprised if there wasn't quite a bit of suspension damage to that. You can see the bodywork damage, but the bodywork on these things are all carbon fibre.
Just a few laps later, the racing continued, and right from the outset, the pace was frantic.
Back to green, and Clark Quinn leads us away in the Mosler. 5 different cars in the top 5 positions. Great advertisement for GT racing. And have a look at this. This is Peter Hackett making a big lunge in the Lamborghini for Vodka Row. This is a fill-in car. Remember, his regular car still being repaired from that crash at Sandown late last year. And now Dean Grant falling back into the clutches of Ash Samardi's Mosler. That smoke from the left rear of the Audi has got to be a real worry. It doesn't seem to have got any better.
It hasn't actually, but you know, if he can just hang on to it until he gets to the pit stop, they might be able to pull it off the tyre and he'll be able to finish the race.
There's a mistake, the little Lotus of Angelo Lazaris, the GT3 Exige, runs a little bit wide at turn 9.
Oh, it's getting busy up here.
Great mix here. Geordie Ormsby's in there in the RSR Porsche. Damien Flack in the 997 Cup car.
It didn't take long before there were several more casualties.
Problem for Peter Hackett, limping to pit lane, and I don't know whether it's right front, it's suspension, it's steering, it could be a bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the front wheel moving out and in. I don't know if he might have touched the wall there coming out of one of the terraces, but there's massive right front damage for Hackett.
And Peter Edwards brings the Ferrari into pit lane, and this looks quite terminal.
You're hearing that. That doesn't sound very good when you're hearing those clunks there. They definitely shouldn't be there, and this is obviously Jason Richards' car, so let's hope they can get it out so Jason can actually get a drive.
Looks like there's a pretty serious front-end drama with car 17, and Jordan Ormsby heading to pit lane with smoke pouring everywhere from the Porsche RSR.
You can see the front splitter there, Aaron. Not quite sitting right, and here we go here.
Either he's bumped it on the tyre bundle or perhaps the curbs and dislodged it, and this is what happened. Oh, plenty of fluid everywhere and radiator coolant.
The radiators are located behind the front bumper bar on these cars, so one small little touch, you can see it here, there's water coming out from behind the bar everywhere.
As the skies grew darker, on the track it became almost impossible to tell the front runners from the lapped traffic.
Lights ablaze as Clark Quinn tries to get around Ash Samardi, but the lap Mosler's having none of it.
Ash mustn't know that these guys here are actually racing for the lead. He must think that they're actually positioned on the racetrack, which is why he's making it so hard for them to pass.
Now Quinn was slow on the exit of the hairpin, and that that gives Eddie a run. Not quite able to get through. What a sight. Racing under lights here in Adelaide.
It was a gripping finish to the hour-long sprint, with the first two cars separated by the smallest of margins.
What a classic fight this has been. Clark Quinn is going to get home and win his first ever Australian GT Championship race, and does it by the narrowest of margins as the fireworks go off here on the streets of Adelaide. Greg Crick home in third place. Dean Grant and Daniel Gaunt in the Porsche. They ran it at the top four. Ash Samadi was one lap down, but probably thought he was actually in this motor race. He ends up fifth, but Clark Quinn managed to drive his way through the darkness and the different conditions to get the victory.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad until after I did the pit stop. Once I come out, I just realised how dark it was, as if someone turned the lights off while I was in the pits. So when I come out, it was just incredibly dark, and it took me a couple of laps to get my bearings again. The last 10 minutes was interesting. Trying to get through some lap traffic, but anyway, we got there in the end and come out on top, so it was good.
After taking honours in the night race, Clark Quinn led the rolling start in the final race of the weekend.
We're back to sprint race format today in Adelaide, and Clark Quinn leads the way. He won last night's 100th championship race and did it in style as everyone makes their way through the centre chicane. Look for some of the fast cars coming from the back.
There are quite a few of these guys in the champ cars that didn't actually finish the race last night, so they're going to have their work cut out getting past some of these challenge cars to get to these fast guys at the front.
Great shot there of Adrian Flack's new Ginetta. There's the white Lamborghini of Peter Hackett. Tony Quinn is on a charge, but his boy is going pretty well. Here's Ash Samadi leading the way in the Moser. He's behind Dean Grant and in front of Damien Flack's Porsche.
You can see Tony Quinn there. Jeez, that was close.
Mark Eddy having a look at Clark Quinn down at turn 9, but Greg Crick seizes the spot.
After his DNF in race 1, Tony Quinn was literally pushing his way through the field.
The big V12 power of the Aston Martin isn't quite enough to get through at turn 8 on Angelo Lazaris in the Lotus.
It's getting pretty busy down here at the minute.
Oh, the Lotus is good under brakes, so he goes for Marcini. That was a bit cheeky. And now Tony Quinn bullies him out of the way.
Well, that was all a bit messy, wasn't it? Angelo got down the inside, tried to pass two cars. As we can see here, both Porsches on his outside. Bang, contact there. Tony Quinn says, thank you very much for this. Then they come together.
Oh, messy stuff in race 2. Here's Tony Quinn closing in on Peter Hackett in the Vodka Lamborghini. Remember that Peter was a championship contender last year. This car, though, didn't make it through race 1. It had front-end damage to both steering and the wheel as well. But it's got a bit of a problem here. It doesn't have the same power that the Aston's got.
No, and I'm actually quite surprised after that contact that Tony Quinn's car still seems to be tracking straight with no bodywork hanging off it.
The end result for the Lamborghini was a broken front suspension upright in race 1. There's Dean Grant driving a Porsche now this weekend. Here's Peter Edwards in the 430 Ferrari with Mark O'Connor right behind him in a little Lotus. Actually missed race 1. They had fuel issues and a broken sensor in the end with this little Lotus, so it's back running again. And this Ferrari's not sounding 100%.
No, normally, that Ferrari should be pulling away from that little Lotus out of some of those tight corners, but it doesn't seem to be on song at the moment. He did have problems with it in the hour race.
There it goes. The Lotus goes through.
That to me sounds like a bit of a gearbox issue. You can see him fighting there. The paddles behind the wheel are what you use to change gears in these cars. And it's definitely not running right.
So disaster for Maranello Motorsport this weekend, and Edwards shuts it down.
On debut in Australia, the Ginetta was immediately showing great race pace.
Great run here from Adrian Flack in this brand new car, completely new to GT racing here in Australia, but not new to the likes of the UK, where Ginetta isn't a swear word.
Well, it is a very different car, actually. It's got a Ford engine.
You'd like it.
I like it. It's got a lot of downforce. You can see it here. It's actually not shy in straight line speed compared to the Porsche.
Now, he's actually going by Dean Grant. This car had an over rev on a downshift in the first race and bent a valve, so they're taking it very steady at reduced revs. So certainly it's a great sign for the Ginetta to be going by, but he is passing a wounded Porsche.
Nick O'Halloran was starting to gain ground after a shaky start to the weekend.
Now, the Ferrari started 18th on the grid, and in race one had electronic issues, so Alan Simonson didn't get a drive, but he's starting to pick his way through the order.
Yeah, he is. You know, he's up to 13th, right behind Dean Grant. We know Dean's got a few problems up the inside here. Having a good run today, which is good to see. I mean, it was obviously quite disappointing that he didn't finish the hour race last night.
He's managed to pick up another spot, Nick O'Halloran, and continue this charge on the streets of Adelaide.
Towards the end of the race, the Ferrari 430 GT3 was pushing hard to make up ground lost in the previous race.
So Nick O'Halloran through to 11th place now, past the Ginetta. Down at turn 14, final corner, gets a little bit sideways.
Oh, he gathers it up, and he lets the Ginetta pass again, so he's got all that work in front of him to do.
Clark Quinn's Mosler was dominating the race with some impressive lap times.
We jump aboard the race leading car through the centre chicane out towards Wakefield Street. And what you're hearing is a Chev-based 7-litre engine. And you might be thinking, hang on a minute, that gear stick moved and he didn't touch it.
Absolutely. This car, very similar to the Ferrari earlier on, has got paddles behind the steering wheel. That gear shift you can see moving is basically a manual override. If he has a problem with his electronic shift, he can actually go back to manual and use the stick in front of him there. Fantastic sounding car and a very, very fast car around the streets of Adelaide.
And just compare and contrast, this corner, turn 8, barely lifts. It's got so much more aerodynamic grip than a V8 supercar.
Absolutely. He would have been probably travelling 20 to 25 k's an hour quicker through that corner than we do. A lot more horsepower, a lot more downforce, but as you can see, the car's very, very low as he's just getting around a bit of lap traffic there. Very, very low, so not as good over the curbs as the V8 supercar. So they are susceptible for more damage and easier damage if you touch the curbs too hard. Makes me jealous. I wish I had paddle shift on my V8 supercar.
Andrew Taplin and Mark Sini were virtually side by side for the last half of the race.
The Porsche boys getting stuck into it now. Taplin was excluded from race 1 for a push start from his pit stop, but the fight back in race 2 is going all right.
Taplin got a mega run through turn 8 there, set up Mark Sini perfectly into turn 9 under brakes. Move he's been trying to do for the last 6 laps, and now he's got the job done.
In the end, no one could get close to Quinn as he claimed 2 from 2 at the opening round of the season.
Well, what a dominant way to start proceedings. He picked up the Murray Walker GT Tourist Trophy for race 1. He'll get maximum championship points in race 2. Clark Quinn takes the opening round in Adelaide. Great drive from Greg Crick to be second. Mark Eddy home in third. And Damien Flack in the Porsche picks up the GT Challenge class.
A great run from Tony Quinn, starting from the back of the grid to finish up 4th. What a fantastic drive.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? 12 cars on the lead lap, but Kylie is with our winner.
So, Clark, what's the car like to drive around this track?
The car's great. You know, turn 8 in the Mosler is just so fast. I don't think I've gone faster through that corner than in anything else. And it's just got so much downforce going through turn 8. But you know, that's probably its strength. And it's got weaknesses, but you know, every car has that, so it's great.